Seeing Xianxia's rainbow heaven flame, Lu Meng'er said softly, "With this kind of flame, it would be a bit of a waste if I don't refine it. I wonder if he will have time in the future. I'll teach him how to refine artifacts. My master also used a lot of time to cultivate and produce the seven-colored heavenly fire, but this brat is the same age as Xianxia, yet he can control the seven-colored heavenly fire so easily. No wonder he was so ambitious, daring to create a dragon-subduing school, and dared to fight against so many powers." Lu Zhongyu sighed. "I wonder if Junior Apprentice Brothers Dragon-Subduing School still wants more people. I should be able to go and mix in with the elders or something like that." Wang Weiquan grinned. "Master, the elders in the Young Master's Dragon-Subduing School are all a bunch of brats. Yun Xiaodao, Zhu Rong, and the rest of the little brats are all elders of the Dragon-Subduing School. If you go, you will definitely be looked down upon by them." Hua Xiangyue laughed. "So that's how it is. No wonder when I was going to introduce Master to them, they weren't interested in the slightest, and instead had a very arrogant look on their faces." Wang Weiquan laughed. Lu Meng'er said, "Xianxian, Yulan, and the rest are often sparring with that group of brats. That group of brats are also quite strong, and they all cultivate very mysterious skills. Don't forget that Dragon Subduing School has a very powerful Great Elder who can fight against Dragon Emperor." Back then, when Lu Meng'er's group was stopped by the Dragon Emperor, it was the White Tiger that suddenly appeared and told the Dragon Emperor to retreat. That means we underestimated that group of brats before. However, aren't they too low profile? They even acted sloppy all the time, and no matter how you look at it, they don't seem like the elders from a large power. Right now, Yun Xiaodao and the others were in the Human King Immortal country, but they did not join the Human King Immortal country. Initially, Wu Canghong and Lu Zhongyu had the intention to rope Chun Xiang in, but this was not realistic because Chun Xiang was originally a leader from a big sect. However, forming an alliance with him was not a problem. The final match wouldn't determine one's ranking, but first place was the most meaningful match. Currently, everyone was trying their best to concoct the best quality pills and compete for first place. From the looks of it, anyone could possibly get first place because these 10 alchemists were all very skilled. This was a mysterious Dan Immortal sent by He Peiqing. He was able to refine a high-grade heaven-level pill, a 9 primal creation pellet refined from 9 nature fruit, a good fortune pellet refined from one of them was a mid-grade heaven level, far inferior to the 9 primal creation pellet. The market for this kind of pill was very big. It was one of the most favored pills of many immortals, and the price was not low either. There were several Dan Immortal who were present to refine this type of pill, because the ingredients for the 9 elements creation pill were more abundant. As long as one was not too poor, they could be bought with a large number of spiritual crystal. The Dan Immortal was very confident in his 9 yuan creation pill. After he was done concocting, he immediately went to the testing immortal equipment and placed the pill in the middle of the concave. The finger array on top of the disc immediately rotated, and then stopped at the 88 mark, which was actually not above 90%. This made He Peiqing feel disappointed. To these Dan Immortal S, it could be said that they had spent a long time concocting a batch of high-grade heaven-level pills in 18 hours, but the quality was still so poor. It could be seen that this Dan Immortal was not that amazing. There were many famous Dan Immortal under the Myriad Dan Immortal country, but they could not participate in the competition. The hosts could not send people to participate. Afterwards, the devil-suppressing Divine Palace also completed it. It was also a 9 yuan creation pill. From the fragrance and the clouds of light outside, one could not see the exact quality because all the high-quality pills were like that, but this was not peak quality. The specialty of the devil-suppressing Divine Palace was not pill refining, but it was already pretty good for them to have such a powerful Dan Immortal. He came to the side of the Immortal testing tool and started his test. The needle fiercely turned and jumped to 94. The devil-suppressing Divine Palace was very satisfied with his result, and revealed a smile on his face. The peak quality refined by Myriad Dan Immortal Country's 7th stage Dan Immortal was also only 97 years old, but it was still 3 years away from being refined. However, the higher the quality of a technique, the more easily one would be able to break through. Although there was a difference of 3 levels, it was still possible that he would find it difficult to break through to this level in his entire lifetime. The 3rd Dan Immortal to complete was Imperial Dragon Clan's Holy Dragon Dan Immortal. Many people believed that there was a high chance for him to get first place, because he had performed exceptionally well in the previous competition. What he had refined was a heaven-level holy dragon's blood pill. This pill's medicinal ingredients were probably only easy to obtain by their holy dragon's blood. The main ingredient was the holy dragon's essence blood. Holding the golden pellet in his hand, he confidently came to the side of the testing disc. He was confident that he could surpass devil-suppressing divine palace. The finger array rotated and stopped at the 96th mark. Seeing this result, everyone was secretly surprised, because it was just a little bit away from the peak quality. Seeing that he had been defeated, the Dan Immortal's smile disappeared as he shook his head and sighed. However, the final result was not out yet because there were still 7 Alchemists that had not been completed, and these 7 Alchemists were all very powerful. The fourth to complete pill was Du Hai, who was a 3rd-grade Dan Immortal. This kind of Dan Immortal could be considered relatively noble, and he was participating in the competition on behalf of the Sacred Dan realm, so he refined a high-grade heaven level called Great Nirvana Pill. After consuming this kind of pill, he would let himself fall into a deep sleep, and then recover from his injuries at a terrifying rate, suitable for the severely injured and unconscious Dan Immortal to consume. After Du Hai placed the Great Nirvana Pill on top, he turned his finger towards the 94th place, causing him to helplessly talk. Although he did not get first place, he still knew his own level. Right now, the one in the lead was still the Holy Dragon Dan Immortal with a score of 96. Following that, Li Tianjun also completed the process. He had also concocted the 9 yuan creation pellet, which made people feel that he had a higher chance of obtaining the points. At this moment, the face of the Holy Dragon, Dan Immortal, tensed up. He was worried that Li Tianjun would surpass him. 96. He Peiqing said. If the final high score is the same, then how would it count? The Holy Dragon Dan Immortal heaved a sigh of relief and asked anxiously. In that case, all of you can continue to refine until a high and low level is determined. He Peiqing said. The peak quality that was refined by a 7th stage Dan Immortal was 97. Now that they had reached 96 and reached the highest level possible for a 7th stage Dan Immortal, both Li Tianjun and the Holy Dragon Dan Immortal were more satisfied with themselves. I'm finally done. When the Fire Divine Palace opened the furnace, it did not shoot out any light, so it was clear that it was not peak quality. At this moment, Li Tianjun was more concerned about the Bai Xia Dan Immortal score. He had lost everything earlier because of this Bai Xia Dan Immortal, and it seemed like he had made a bet with this Bai Xia Dan Immortal. Therefore, the Bai Xia Dan Immortal's face was very heavy, because Li Tianjun's score was not low. I wonder how this Bai Xia Dan Immortal is doing. She's at least a 5th stage Dan Immortal. She shouldn't be too bad. Su Meiyao said. This Bai Xia Dan Immortal had once lost to her. It was said that after losing, she took off her clothes and strolled around in a palace. What Bai Xia Dan Immortal refined was a Heaven's Longevity Pill, a high-grade heaven-level pill that could increase one's lifespan. She placed it in the middle of the disc and stared at the spinning pointer. 95. He Peiqing's voice made Bai Xia Dan Immortal's heart feel as if it was struck, and he retreated a few steps. It seemed like she and Li Tianjun had a huge bet, and it was obvious from her pale face. Even if Li Tianjun did not take first place, he had still won against Bai Xia Dan Immortal. As for what the bet was, that was something everyone wanted to know. Right now, the ones in the lead were Li Tianjun and the Holy Dragon Dan Immortal, but they still felt a lot of pressure because Long Perong had not completed his task. As for Xianxia, who could use the 7-colored heavenly fire, the low-grade heaven-level pills refined by him, they did not ignore them either because in the previous 2 matches, Xianxia had been far ahead of everyone else and had taken first place. Xiao Profoundyun was done concocting the Sky Life pill. Of course she wanted to win, but the competition was too competitive, so she just hoped that she was not too bad. After all, she was still very young, and Xianxia was already her. 95. Said. This result gave him some hope, because there was still one Dan Immortal he had sent out that hadn't completed the core formation stage. The same level as Bai Xia Dan Immortal. This caused Xiao Profoundyun to reveal a sweet smile, which made Bai Xia Dan Immortal look extremely unhappy. However, when Xiao Profoundyun saw Xianxia, his smile immediately disappeared. If Xianxia was stronger than her, then she would be considered as his junior sister. She had lost to Xianxia 3 times in a row, so she didn't have the confidence to compete with Xianxia for her number 2 position. Now, there was still the mysterious Dan Immortal sent by Xianxia, Long Peirong, and the others. Long Peirong and Xianxia both had their eyes closed. It was obvious that there was still some time before the pill condense stage, and the mysterious Dan Immortal's pill furnace was already shaking slightly. It should be in the process of condensing a pill. Not long after, the Dan Immortal that he Peiqing sent over opened the pill furnace, but no pill light still appeared, meaning that it was not peak quality. In the eyes of many Dan Immortal, if they wanted to refine a peak quality, they would need a bit of luck or else it would be difficult to do so. 96. He Peiqing was more satisfied because right now only the peak quality could surpass this number. Now there were only Long Peirong and Xianxia. Since Long Peirong was able to use the sacred flame, many people thought that she could refine pills with light. At this moment, her pill furnace was shaking slightly, obviously concocting pills. Xianxia frowned slightly at this moment as he looked at Long Peirong's pill furnace with divine soul. The pill furnace stopped shaking. Long Peirong opened the pill furnace, and golden light shone out, the pill fragrance permeating everywhere. The holy dragon Dan Immortal, Li Tianjun and He Peiqing all sighed in their hearts. The appearance of a pill light meant that it was definitely more than 96 times the number of people in the peak quality. The peak quality of the heaven-level pill could release a pill light, but the light was much weaker than the one Xianxia had refined previously. Calm down, you still have hope. Her pill light is too inferior to yours. Su Meiyao felt that Xianxia was getting impatient. She anxiously used her gentle voice to stabilize him. The more he hoped for it, the more afraid he would be of losing it. Right now, Xianxia was just like this because he really wanted to obtain that divine cauldron. However, when Long Peirong took out the pellet, he felt a sense of loss. Long Peirong lived up to everyone's expectations. The high-grade heaven-level pills that were refined gave off a rare pill light, and at this moment, she walked towards the testing platform with the peak quality in her hand. The high-grade heaven-level sacred animal danes made Long Shui immediately salivate. For people with dragon blood in their bodies, eating sacred animal dan would also have an effect, which was why Long Peirong was able to refine this pill. 98. He Peiqing exclaimed. It was actually higher than the myriad Dan Immortal country's 7th stage peak quality. Although it was only an extra point, the difference was still huge. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been that many 96 of them previously. There are only 4 hours left before the competition ends. He Peiqing looked at Xianxia and said, only he hasn't completed it yet. I wonder if he can bring us even more surprises. Xianxia was just an alchemist who knew how to refine heaven-level pills. To let him refine pills that were higher than the 98 levels was extremely difficult. Many people did not think highly of him because he had to reach the 99 levels. I wonder if he can defeat Grandma Long? She's really amazing. Long Huishan said in a low voice. Let's wait and see. There are still 4 more hours. Deep in her heart, she hoped that Xianxia would take first place. Very High Elder, if it were you, how much quality would you have achieved? Long Huishan asked curiously. 97, 98 is fine. If I were to refine a few more batches, 99 is also possible. The Very High Elder chuckled. If that kid can defeat Ronger, I'll cut off my beard. Long Huishan laughed. You said it yourself, don't go back on your words when the time comes. The Very High Elder was very confident in his daughter. He smiled and said, Ronger has already reached an extremely high level. She was able to use sacred flame for a very short period of time, which is why she was able to produce such a high quality. Even I may only be on par with her, this peak quality. Although Xianxia is exceptional, being able to control the rainbow heaven flames and walk a different path of alchemy, he is still too young, after all, and the result of the peak quality is something that would take many years to refine. If he knew that Xianxia had refined a Hunyuan Dan that released pill light before, he wouldn't have said that. Everyone was waiting for Xianxia, and Xianxia was just like the elder Uncle Li from before, sleeping. In Xianxia's previous 2 matches, his pill refining speed was truly terrifying, but the slowest one was still him, who gave people a feeling of unfathomability. It's not enough yet. If I can't find a solution to the problem, I will lose. Xianxia thought. The ball of energy inside the pill furnace had already been split into 4. He wanted to condense 400 dennes. Just when he was at his wit's end, he began to quickly flip through the heavenly alchemy. He remembered that he once read about a period where it had something to do with helping to raise one's quality. Very quickly, he found that part, only that it was somewhat difficult to control, and would consume all of the divine power in his body and the innate qi. Little naughty dragon, after I finish refining this pill, I will use up most of my energy. When that time comes, you must be careful. If anyone dares to sneak attack me, you must immediately take me with you. Xianxia said. Under the situation where he was surrounded by enemies, using up all of his energy was extremely dangerous. Long Shui immediately responded. With me here, you can boldly go and torment yourself. Let them see your strength, and let this group of bumpkins, who have never seen the world, broaden their horizons. Towards Xianxia, Long Shui was full of confidence, and at the same time, she was also prepared to take action to protect Xianxia. Although Xianxia had yet to admit her identity, most of the powerhouses had already confirmed that he was Xianxia. Xianxia was not confident that he could surpass Long Perong in terms of quality, so he found a method from the heavenly alchemy that could help him improve the quality of the pills. He did not know what it was called, but it was one of the heavenly alchemy and could be considered a small technique, so it did not have a name like the Dewan refining method. Let's call it elemental increasing technique. Xianxia gave this method a name because it could improve quality. Although he was not sure if it would succeed, he still planned to give it a try. Although there were still 4 hours until the end of the competition, everyone was waiting impatiently, because at the moment only Xianxia was not done refining, and everyone was looking forward to it. Suddenly, Xianxia's pill furnace trembled. Upon seeing this, everyone became happy. They thought that it was a sign of condensing a pill, but after a slight tremble, it became motionless. However, all of the immortal qi in the entire arena was slowly surging towards Xianxia's pill furnace and formed a spiral around it. The dense immortal qi was emitting a faint white glow, and from afar, it looked extremely beautiful. Everyone did not know what was going on, but they knew that this was Xianxia's unique pill refining technique, and previously, Xianxia had already displayed a unique technique to refine a few hundred sets of medicinal ingredients at the same time. Now that something strange had occurred, everyone was not surprised. They were curious as to why he was doing this. Very High Elder, what is he doing? Long Huishan asked. Although the Long family she was in charge of was a great pill refining power in the Sacred Dan realm, she did not know how to refine pills. Seems like he's absorbing immortal energy into the pill furnace. So he wants to use immortal energy to improve the quality of the pill, but that won't work. Over the past 10 million years, many alchemists have tried. I have tried many times, but I was unable to use this method to improve the quality of the pill. That Very High Elder was also very suspicious, but he knew that Xianxia was different from the other alchemist, so he didn't try to blame it on Xianxia for his own failure. Xianxia was indeed absorbing a large amount of immortal energy into the pill furnace, but he was not injecting the pills into it to raise the quality of the pill. Rather, he was using the Yuan Ascension technique to assimilate the immortal energy into the pills, becoming a type of strange energy that could perfectly fuse with the pill. As long as it was fused into the pill, it could improve the quality of the pill. However, it was extremely difficult because there were very few people who could assimilate the large amount of immortal qi that had been absorbed. Furthermore, Xianxia had to release a large amount of innate qi and divine power to guide and refine the immortal qi. If one were to absorb immortal qi like a house, after transforming it into medicine aura and medicinal powder, they would only be as big as grains of sand, so they would need to absorb a lot of immortal qi. He had used up a large amount of god power and innate qi, and had even absorbed a large amount of immortal qi, all to change a tiny bit of the energy that could improve the quality of the medicinal pellets. Based on Xianxia's current strength, he would need to exhaust a whole 9 levels of power in his body in order to succeed. Other than Xianxia, no one knew what he was doing right now. It was just that he was using a mysterious technique of alchemy. Long Perong had originally thought that she could take first place, but seeing how serious Xianxia was, she felt apprehensive. She rarely competed in pill refining, and even if they competed, she still won. Moreover, this was the first time she was competing in pill refining competitions in such a large scale. If she were to lose, it would definitely be a blow to her. Right now, the only person who was worried was probably Long Perong alone, because the other 8 alchemists had already confirmed that they were not destined to be number 1. At this moment, they were patiently waiting here, just for the final result. She naturally hoped that Xianxia would win since Xiao Profound Yun was his junior sister and his sister, but she also felt that Long Perong was very strong. Previously, when Long Perong had entered the arena, there were many alchemists who were filled with reverence for her, and from then on, it could be seen. 2 hours passed and Xianxia was still like that. The pill furnace was surrounded by dense immortal qi. After another half an hour, the people in the competition grounds suddenly felt that Xianxia's pill furnace had stopped absorbing the immortal qi, and the innate qi in his body was also extremely scarce, showing how much energy he had expended. Everyone just noticed the change in Xianxia's pill furnace, and Xianxia immediately opened his eyes, but he did not open the pill furnace. He had not finished refining the pill, and was also very tired. He refined the pills from the other Hunyuan Dan, and gradually recovered his energy. "I'm done," Xianxia said, and everyone immediately became alert, staring at his pill furnace. Even if he is able to refine peak quality, at most he would be only at 97. Even if he is at 98, he would still be on the same level as me. I still have a chance at victory, Long Perong thought. When Xianxia opened his eyes, the confident look in his eyes made everyone feel like he had already won. He slowly extended his hand towards the lid of the pill furnace, but he was unable to open it. It was obvious that the lid had been sucked in by a force. Xianxia increased his strength and finally lifted the lid a little, revealing a small crack. It was also at this time that a multicolored light suddenly shot out from the inside of the lid, like the one released by the 7-colored sky flames. However, it was much stronger than the 7-colored sky flames, because the light rays had a strong penetrating power that shot far away. Seeing these clouds of light, everyone was at a loss for words, especially the Dan Immortal, because they knew that this was a genuine pill light. Xianxia forcefully opened the lid. Following that, rainbow-colored light shot out from the pill furnace like a gushing spring, instantly rushing to the top of the Immortal Palace. The burst of rainbow-colored light did not dissipate. The 7-colored light pillar was dazzled by the colorful light mist, releasing a dense pill fragrance, penetrating into people's hearts, causing them to be extremely spirited. The most shocking thing was still the 4 shining Hunyuan Dan pills in Xianxia's hands. Under these circumstances, he actually dared to pursue the quantity of the pellets, unlike the other alchemist who, in order to pursue quality, had only refined 1 pellet. Xianxia held the 4 pellets, and under everyone's astonished gaze, he walked to the side of the test disc. He casually took 1 pellet from his palm and placed it into the center of the indent on the test disc. At this time, the most touching moment had come. The Dan Immortals all surrounded over and stared at the pointer. Even though Long Perong had lived for many years, she had never been as nervous as she was now. She was worried that she would lose. The finger array fiercely rotated. Everyone's eyes were fixated on the area between 95 and 100. Who would have thought that the needle would stop at 3 points after turning 100? Everyone was startled when they saw this scene. Then, they took a deep breath and looked at the needle in disbelief. The quality had actually exceeded 100 and reached 103. It was much higher than Long Perong's 88, and it had already far surpassed Long Perong's. Just as everyone was staring at him in a daze, Xianxia picked up the pellet, changed the pellet again and rotated the finger array. Once, he turned the array around and also stopped at the 3rd pellet. Xianxia looked at He Peiqing and laughed. "Now, you should be able to confirm the outcome of this competition, right?" He Peiqing slowly took a deep breath and passed the small cauldron to Xianxia with great dissatisfaction. "You're first." Even if He Peiqing was 1,000 times unwilling, he still wouldn't dare to act shamelessly in front of so many people. Xianxia took the divine furnace and immediately placed it inside his Yuyao ring. At the same time, a few of the big shots in the VIP boxes had already started to get excited. The match is over. He Peiqing also felt a little nervous, because there would definitely be a lot of people stopping Xianxia in a bit. Xianxia took the divine furnace and walked towards the exit. Halt! Wait! The one who yelled, "Stop!" was the Dan Immortal Holy Dragon, while the other one was Hefeng. They all knew that the person in front of them was Xianxia. The Saint Dragon Dan Immortal looked at Hefeng and thought nothing of it. In a flash, he arrived in front of Xianxia and asked coldly, "You are Xianxia. You have my Imperial Dragon Clan's Supreme Divine Saber on you. Quickly hand it over to me. Otherwise, you won't be able to walk out of here today." Xianxia had long since gotten used to this kind of thing. "I don't understand what you're saying." Just as Xianxia finished speaking, a strong burst of pressure suddenly surged over, followed by a burst of extremely terrifying dragon chi gushing into the competition grounds. A dozen people suddenly appeared beside the holy dragon Dan Immortal. Among them was a mighty middle-aged man. This middle-aged man was Dragon Emperor. "Hand over the green dragon demon-slain broadsword, and we will not pursue the past matters," Dragon Emperor said indifferently. A pair of eyes filled with ruthlessness stared at Xianxia, causing Xianxia to feel immense pressure. "What right do you have to say that the green dragon demon-slain broadsword is your Imperial Dragon Clan's?" Xianxia asked. "Bring out the evidence." Green dragon demon-slain broadsword were crafted by divine craftsmen. In the legends, they never mentioned anything about Imperial Dragon Clan. When Xianxia said this, he was undoubtedly admitting his identity. As matters stood, he had nothing to hide. He had long made his preparations. This Imperial Dragon Clan is really going too far. Wang Weiquan bellowed. He was about to head towards the competition grounds, but Xiao Profoundyun suddenly walked in. "Don't worry, everyone. Master is here. With him here, I'll be fine," Xianxia said. Xianxia had told her this before. Facing the Dragon Emperor, even the human king Immortal country felt a lot of pressure. "Very high elder. Do it. This Imperial Dragon Clan is too arrogant." Long Huishan stood up. His face was filled with anger. At this time, the people of Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace and Fire Divine Palace entered the competition grounds. "Xianxia, you have the Holy Devil-Suppressing Seal. Quickly hand it over." "It isn't yours." "Xianxia, we have to settle the debts we owed Dition." The people of Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace and Fire Divine Palace took the chance to find an excuse to clash with Xianxia, as they had to get something from Xianxia's body no matter what. The people in front of him were all experts, powers that were on the level of Immortal Kings, and the Dragon Emperor was even stronger than the Immortal Kings, so Xianxia's current strength was not even worth mentioning in front of this group of people. Seeing that there was someone who also wanted a share of the loot, Dragon Emperor snorted. "If you don't hand over the green dragon demon-slain broadsword, you will die." The Dragon Emperor was the strongest, and the strongest people from the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace and the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace were not present yet. Of course, they did not dare to fight against the Dragon Emperor, or else their powers would not be enough to contend against him. "Brat, don't you have a Chaos Fire token with you? Use that thing and I'll go take you away," Huang Jintian said to Xianxia. Xianxia still had 4 Chaos Fire token that he had yet to fuse with. When he was fusing with the Chaos Fire token, he would release a protective divine light, and those who were hit by the light wouldn't be able to move. Xianxia stood there waiting for Huang Jintian's instructions. Previously, he had already wanted to use the Chaos Fire token, but he was worried that it would be of no use to the Dragon Emperor. If the Chaos Fire token is useful, you can take out the Holy Dragon Sword and stab it into the Dragon Emperor. At that time, the Dragon Emperor will definitely not defend against the Holy Dragon Sword. Long Shui said, "And when the time comes, I will go and kill that Holy Dragon Dan Immortal. Today, I must let them know that even Dragon Emperor would suffer a loss in front of the Dragon Subduing School." When Xianxia heard it, he was secretly excited in his heart. The order badge suddenly appeared in his hand, and many people were staring at Xianxia, so when an order badge suddenly appeared in his hand, they immediately noticed it. Just as everyone was guessing what he was going to do, they suddenly saw a pool of blood flowing out of Xianxia's palm. It was the Chaos Fire token. "Quick, dodge." Just as Dragon Emperor wanted to leave, the light emitted by the Chaos Fire token had already shone onto his body, causing the people around him to be illuminated by the chaos fire token. The people surrounding Xianxia were all enveloped by the silvery white glow emitted by the chaos fire token. They were all frozen by the magical and powerful energy inside, unable to move. "Attack, quick!" Long Shui shouted, and left Xianxia's body. Xianxia immediately took out the holy dragon sword, and according to Long Shui's instructions, he would use the power of the holy dragon and stab towards Dragon Emperor's dragon pearl. Although he had stabbed in, he was still repelled by a very powerful force, and even if the Dragon Emperor was immobile, it would be hard for him to kill it. Just one sword strike is enough to stab him. "You won't be able to kill him, go kill the other immortal kings." Xianxia immediately switched to the green dragon demon-slain broadsword and locked onto devil-suppressing divine palace and the two strongest immortal kings. In that instant, he looked down at the heads of the two immortal kings and smashed their sky pills with the hammer of God. Just as Xianxia was about to take action against other people, Huang Jintian shouted, "Enough! Do you not want to live anymore?" Xianxia only felt someone grabbing onto his calf and his vision went black. When he could see clearly, he had already appeared in the middle of a huge lake. In the competition grounds, when Long Huishan and the Very High Elder just arrived, they saw Xianxia taking out his holy dragon sword and thrusting towards the Dragon Emperor. After that, he used his fastest speed to attack the two immortal kings, and then he was pulled into the ground and disappeared. The protective divine light emitted by the Chaos Fire token had disappeared. Dragon Emperor, who could move, let out an angry roar. Xianxia, he was the one who killed the Crown Prince, and the Holy Dragon Sword is in his hands. Dragon Emperor bellowed. His entire body was trembling as his killing intent surged. The entire audience was silent, because there was a bloody hole on Dragon Emperor's body and one of his arms had already been chopped off, leaving behind bursts of golden dragon blood. On the other side, two immortal kings fell to the ground. Their stomachs were split open and their heads fell to the side. These were the more powerful immortal kings among the devil-suppressing divine palace and devil-suppressing divine palace, but they were actually killed just now. As for the holy dragon Dan Immortal, he sat paralyzed on the ground. A large amount of blood was left on his abdomen, and his dragon pearl had already been taken away. The Dragon Emperor was truly worthy of being called the Dragon Emperor. He knew who killed his son and was even tricked ruthlessly, but he was unexpectedly calm. There were other people who attacked just now. One of them cut off my arm, and the other took away Long Lin's dragon pearl. The Dragon Emperor looked at the dead fire divine palace and the immortal king of devil-suppressing divine palace coldly. That kid even used an incredible hammer to shatter their heavenly pellets through their bodies. When the people of Fire Divine Palace and Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace heard this, they became exceptionally furious. They never thought that Xianxia would be so crazy. When Prince Imperial Dragon was killed, it caused a huge commotion in the ninth heaven, and the person who actually killed Prince Imperial Dragon was actually Xianxia. Hammer! Is it a black hammer? This was the Hall Master who sealed Xianxia all those years ago. That's right. Such a powerful hammer. Dragon Emperor said. His calmness at this moment made people shudder. Ice Emperor was killed by a person holding a black hammer. The old man clenched his fists. Xianxia did it. He also knew that Ice Emperor was in a half-dead state, but even if he was unable to kill Ice Emperor at all for the past 10 days, he had instead been killed by Xianxia. Long Huishan heard their conversation from afar and secretly cursed Xianxia in his heart. To actually do such a big thing again, there was no longer a need for her to help him. Ronger, come here, the Very High Elder shouted. Long Perong was also frightened quite badly just now, so she anxiously went over to Very High Elder's side. Dragon Emperor glanced at the Long family's Very High Elder and furrowed his brows. Then, he brought the Imperial Dragon Clan's people and disappeared from the arena. Xianxia ascended to Heaven Realm. This was the first time he revealed his identity, and at the same time he did something extremely high-profile. This little junior brother really doesn't care about his life, but he escaped. Wang Weiquan heaved a sigh of relief. My uncle master is such a person. Whoever wants to make a move against him will have a bad ending. The Fire Divine Palace and the Devil-Suppressing Divine Palace both lost an immortal king, and the Imperial Dragon Clan's Holy Dragon Dan Immortal was also destroyed. Hua Xiangyue said, I never thought that the Prince Imperial Dragon was actually killed by him. When I was at the Sacred Dan Realm, I thought that it was the Super Yuan sect leader, but this brat is really good at scheming, actually making the Super Yuan sect leader suffer, and the Dragon Emperor hasn't discovered this yet. Lu Menger said, Let's hurry back to Human King Immortal Country. Dragon Emperor is surprisingly calm. This is not a good thing. Wu Canghong said. Long Huishan also immediately returned to the Supreme Ocean Palace, cursing loudly all along the way. This little bastard actually really killed the Prince Imperial Dragon and even left a Holy Dragon sword in his hands. No wonder he left his Ice Dragon sword with me. In that case, the Super Yuan sect leader died unjustly and was killed by him. Yen Xilan chuckled. There were 3 people who acted just now, and one of them should be his master Huang Jintian. He was using the Taiji Dragon Suppressed Kung Fu, and he also has a very powerful weapon that can cut off Dragon Emperor's arm. The very high elder had a stern expression. There's one more, why can't we see him? I thought it was Chun Xiang who did it. Long Perong asked. The other one isn't a person, but a dragon. From the Qi it should be a white dragon, and Chun Xiang has a white dragon by his side. Everything makes sense. The white dragon has obtained a lot of inherited memories, and there are even ancient records, so Chun Xiang probably got help from that white dragon. White dragon. Long Huishan was startled. Then doesn't that mean that this white dragon bears a deep grudge against the Sea of Blood? No wonder he helped Chun Xiang to make a move against Imperial Dragon Clan. The very high elder nodded his head and said, All of the Dragon Emperors know immediately that this is not only a personal grudge that involves him, but the life and death of the entire Imperial Dragon Clan. The legendary White Dragon of Vengeance has already appeared, and the prophecy said that the Imperial Dragon Clan would be destroyed, and this was all caused by the White Dragon. That's why the Imperial Dragon Clan killed the White Dragon back then. I didn't expect the White Dragon to still be alive, and not just that, but it was a very powerful White Dragon as well. Huishan, let's not get involved in this matter anymore. Chun Xiang is very powerful. There's no need for you to worry at all. If he can even kill Ice Swallow City, the hidden power he has is not something that you or I can imagine. The very high elder said to Long Huishan seriously. I know. Long Huishan sighed softly. What happened today was like a flood that spread through the 9 heavens. Chun Xiang looked at Huang Jintian and said, Master, I never thought that you would be able to cut off Dragon Emperor's hand. You really hide your strength well. If Long Shui had not told him this, he would not have known that Huang Jintian would actually take this opportunity to slice Dragon Emperor's dragon claw away. Humph. If you didn't have some ability, how would you be the master of a brat like you? With the things you stirred up, if it was anyone else, they would have already been worried to death. Huang Jintian laughed. He was very happy to be able to obtain a Dragon Emperor's arm. But if it wasn't for me using the Chaos Fire token, you wouldn't have had the chance to cut off Dragon Emperor's arm, so you scored a bit for me. Chun Xiang said, You won't be able to run without me. Huang Jintian said, So we are even. I won't even give you a single hair, if you want to do it yourself. It's a pity that the Bird Emperor of the Imperial Avian race is not around. Otherwise, I would have been able to get his wings too. Seeing Chun Xiang's look of contempt, Huang Jintian said, What other powerful things are on your body? And what is that hammer? And where is that dragon? Chun Xiang took out the hammer and said, This is the hammer of God. It's the same as the divine furnace. That's why I don't hesitate to obtain the divine cauldron. Huang Jintian received it and realized that the divine hammer was heavy. Good stuff, as expected of a divine hammer. I never thought that you would be able to kill off the ice floor. Ice Emperor's body, that's a good thing, although it can't be eaten. There's nothing left. That corpse was completely melted. I used a lot of magical corruption gases. Chun Xiang also felt that it was a pity. You prodigal brat. Huang Jintian felt that it was extremely unfortunate. After returning the godly hammer to Chun Xiang, he did not pursue the matter of Long Shui further. When Huang Jintian cut off Dragon Emperor's arm, He did not give Xianxia even a little bit of it because Xianxia had also obtained a dragon pearl. What plans do you have for the future? Do you have a way to get rich? Huang Jintian asked with a smile. Even if there was, Xianxia probably wouldn't tell the stingy master now. No. My next plan is to train hard for a while and wait for the sound of the wind to pass. Xianxia said this was indeed his next plan. It was only the first half of the plan. Now that you are safe, we will split up here, but you still have to be careful. Although you have the ability, those Imperial Dragon Clan are not weak. In the future, when you meet them, you should avoid them as much as possible. Huang Jintian said. Got it. Then I'll be going. Take care. After Huang Jintian finished speaking, he immediately disappeared, probably using the Earth escape technique to leave this place. After Huang Jintian left, Xianxia continued to stay in the mountain forest. This place was no longer the Myriad Dan Immortal Country's immortal palace, and it was also very far away from the Myriad Dan Immortal Country. With Long Xue's help, he was able to hide his powers well. Previously, he had managed to hide it from many powerful experts, but later on his pill refining skills were exposed. No lid, too bad. Xianxia was holding on to the divine cauldron, so he didn't need to drip any blood to immediately use it, but he wasn't able to unleash the entire power of the divine cauldron in that moment, because he needed to refine it. He needed to infuse his own god power and innate chi and connect the divine cauldron to the user in order to be able to freely control it. Looks like you have to make a trip to the sacred beast's ancient realm, Long Xue said. Xianxia still did not want to go because he was very weak. Not long ago, he was surrounded by so many experts and he felt a sense of powerlessness. If not for the Chaos Fire token, he would not have been able to escape so easily. It was possible that the sacred beast's ancient realm was hiding the beast slain method, so the map that the Dan Emperor left behind also pointed at that location. The divine stainless cauldron in Xianxia's hands was created by a divine craftsman, but Dan Emperor took a very long time to forge it, so that was why the picture that Dan Emperor left behind was written on it. I can't go now. That place is too dangerous, Xianxia said helplessly. After coming to the heaven realm, he had experienced how terrifying the experts were there, so he no longer underestimated the sacred beast's ancient realm, because that place was where the white tiger dragon was born. It was the cradle of the most powerful holy beast of the primordial era. It was extremely difficult to find Xianxia here. If it was anyone else, it might have been easier because they could use the sky dogs or some other tracking treasures, but these things were now completely useless to Xianxia. Xianxia, who was hiding deep in the mountains, was currently very safe. In this kind of deep mountain, there weren't many beast-type medicinal herbs, and normally no one would come in with nothing to do, so he was very relieved to stay here. Is he going to refine a sacred animal Dan? Long Xue asked excitedly. If you want to refine it, I will give you the Holy Dragon Dan Immortal's Dragon Pearl that I obtained. When you refine the Holy Dragon Pill, you will need to extract some Holy Dragon Essence from the Dragon Pearl to refine it, so the effects should be much better. We'll talk after I refine the Origin Restoring Pills. Once I learn how to refine the Origin Restoring Pills, I'll think of a way to sell the large batch of ground-level pills in my hands, trade for a few more spiritual crystal, and then buy the Sacred Animal Dan's medicinal ingredients. If I use the Creation Divine liquid to duplicate them, that'll be too much of a waste of time, Xianxia said. In the Heaven Realm, the ingredients for low-grade Heaven Level S were not so scarce. Only with spiritual crystal he could buy them, so he felt that if he were to use the Creation Divine liquid on those high-grade pills, it would have a higher value. Then hurry up, I haven't even eaten Sacred Animal Dan. The old granny from the Long family refined a high-grade Heaven-level Sacred Animal Dan. I feel that if you want to sell those ground-level pills, the best would be to find your elder sister Long. Long Xue was still concerned about the Sacred Animal Dan that Long Perong had refined with the quality of 97. Xianxia had indeed promised Long Huishan that after the competition ends, he would make a trip to the Long family. In the previous round, Xianxia gained a lot of experience. He believed that when he refined the Origin Returning Pill, he would definitely succeed. Previously, when he was refining the Origin Returning Pill, he had already failed a few times and never succeeded. He didn't have much medicinal materials for the restoration pills either. If he didn't succeed, he would have to go out and buy them. Previously, he failed because he was unable to successfully refine the Baiyuan fruit. The Baiyuan fruit was the only main ingredient of the origin returning pill, which was why it was so difficult to deal with it. Xianxia placed the Baiyuan fruit on his palm, then activated the innate qi, releasing the rainbow heaven flame. After going through the furnace of the peak quality, his control over the rainbow heaven flame increased by a lot. Although the consumption of the rainbow heaven flame was large, it could still be used to refine pills to increase his success rate. The Baiyuan fruit was quickly incinerated into a blood-red color by the multicolored heavenly fire. It was previously white, but now it had turned red and evil, and it also emitted a red glow that slowly flickered, making it look like a slowly beating heart. At this time, the Baiyuan fruit was very stable. Unlike before, it could always explode easily. Long Shui secretly prayed for Xianxia to succeed inside the ring, so that she would be able to eat the sacred animal Dan soon. Done. Xianxia revealed a slight smile and let out a light breath. Even though the Baiyuan fruit in his hand was burnt red, it suddenly turned into a cluster of snow-white light when it disintegrated. He hastily put the ball of light into the 7-star treasure furnace, and those supplementary herbs had already been refined long ago. As long as he started fusing them, he would be able to enter the core formation stage. The process of condensing the pellet was very smooth. Although there were only 3, the number of pills produced was enough to make many Dan Immortal feel ashamed, because the origin restoring pellet was a high-level healing pellet, and the main ingredients had only 1 Baiyuan fruit. The more powerful Dan Immortal could only refine 2 pellets, and most alchemists could only refine 1 pellet. But Xianxia, who managed to refine 3 pills for the first time, could only do so because of the god purification and his solid foundation. Hurry up and refine the sacred animal Dan. I really want to eat it, especially with the royal bird meat. I'm sure it will be fun. Long Shui said pitifully. I suddenly don't want to practice it anymore. I want to take a break. Xianxia laughed. You? I hate you. Long Shui said angrily when he heard Xianxia. I will go to the Long family. I will go there and ask Sister Long for it. It will be much faster than my current refining process. Xianxia added. Yeah. Long Shui immediately said happily, then why aren't you doing it? The Long family was in the Pellet region, which was very far from the myriad Dan Immortal country. However, there was the transmission array that one could go to. As long as Xianxia went to one of the Immortal palaces, he would be able to easily go to the Pellet region. He came to a small Immortal palace nearby. Although the Immortal palace was very far from the myriad Dan Immortal country's Immortal palace, it was still managed by the myriad Dan Immortal country. Xianxia spent more than 10 days, relying on that guided Immortal plate to get here. The moment he entered this Immortal palace, he immediately asked for information about him. It was just as he had guessed. He was offered a bounty, and it was not for spiritual crystal S, but for tier 5 Immortal pills. This was enough for many Immortal Monarch S and Immortal Kings to take action. The bounty came from Devil Suppressing Divine Palace S, Fire Divine Palace S, Divine Saber Immortal Palace S, Imperial Dragon Clan S and Myriad Dan Immortal Country S. All of these bounties were extremely bountiful, making one's heart palpitate with excitement. How can a tier 5 Immortal pill be so easily obtained? Catching me would be even more difficult than gathering all the ingredients for a tier 5 Immortal pill. Xianxia thought to himself as he walked in the direction of the transmission array. Just as he saw the plaza where many transmission arrays were arranged, a transmission array suddenly flashed and a woman appeared. She immediately rushed towards him. It's the little maid. Xianxia was shocked. The lady with the graceful figure and beautiful white dress was none other than Ji Meixian. Xianxia immediately thought that he could deceive the Dragon Emperor and frame him as the culprit, with Ji Meixian's help. Otherwise, he wouldn't have succeeded. Now that the truth had been revealed, the Dragon Emperor knew that he was the one who killed the Prince Imperial Dragon. This Ji Meixian would naturally be suspected, and was believed to be related to him. Sure enough, the transmission array lit up once again, and a group of people appeared. From far away, Xianxia could feel that group of people had the white sea innate qi that gave off a vast sensation. Hearing the barking, he knew that Ji Meixian was being chased by the Tengu. Furthermore, she was the niece of the ruthless Devil Venerable, and had even grown up in the Imperial Feather race. After entering the Heaven Realm, her strength had increased very quickly, and she had already become immortal monarch. Even if it was the immortal monarch strength, she was chased until the streets ran. It could be seen that the people chasing her were even stronger. "Little maid, come to my place." Xianxia, who was dashing over, sent a sound transmission to him before he quickly turned a corner. Seeing Xianxia here, Xianxia's heart was overjoyed. She directly went to Xianxia, and when she approached Xianxia, Xianxia placed her in the dark jade ring. Xianxia then squeezed into the crowd on the side of the street, looking at the people who were rushing over with the dogs. "Little maid, White Sea Imperial land found you," Xianxia asked. He had originally planned to let Xianxia lurk inside the White Sea Imperial land. "Yes, Dragon Emperor and Immortal Country by Hai's relationship is very good. Not long after you ran away on the competition grounds, I sensed danger and immediately fled, only to be chased all the way here by 3 immortal kings. Luckily you appeared here, otherwise I would not know when you would have escaped." Xianxia was with Bai Yuyu inside the ring, and she was panting. She had used up a lot of energy and was very tired. Su Meiyao gave some pills to her to eat, making her feel much better. "Where's Yixuan? Has she been discovered?" Xianxia asked. "She originally wanted to leave with me, but I told her to stay in Immortal Country by Hai. Maybe it might be useful to us in the future," Xianxia said. Xianxia was a leader of the Dragon Subduing School, and there would be a day when he would come into conflict with the Bai Hai Heavenly Kingdom. Zhao Yiprofound was highly regarded inside, so if nothing unexpected happened, he might be able to have a very high position in the future. "I'm really sorry. I almost caused you harm," said guiltily. At this time, he walked into the transmission array, handed over 1,000,000 spiritual crystal, and teleported to the Saint Pellet realm. Xianxia was Xiang's female slave. Although there were many conflicts between them before, after she became Xiang's female slave, she found out that Su Meiyao and Bai Yuyu were behind his back, and she had a very good impression of Xiang. Moreover, Xiang treated her quite well, and gave her quite a few pills to help her become an immortal even faster. Of course, what she valued the most was Xiang's potential. She hated the Imperial Feather race extremely, and now that Xiang already dared to challenge her alone, he would definitely dare to go against her in the future. She wholeheartedly wanted to eliminate him. "Why are you telling this to me? From the time I told you, I've been preparing to take risks," Xianxia said. "What plans do you have for the future? Why don't you stay here with us?" Su Meiyao said. She also wanted a companion. "Right now, you are only Immortal Country by Hai. Perhaps in the future, even Imperial Dragon Clan will chase after you," Bai Yuyu said. Xianxia glanced at Bai Yuyu and Su Meiyao, then sighed. "If you two request for me to be here, I naturally would not object. Although it was safe in here, it was not good for her to grow. She wanted to recover the strength that she had back then. Go to the Long family. You should be fine there." And her both had a special relationship with Xianxia. Back then, Xianxia had always been chasing after and killing them, but for their own good so that they wouldn't be chased by their enemies. And Xianxia was even their master's niece. "Just stay away from the final range of Tengu," Xianxia said. She used to be a lone wolf as well, and now that she was separated from Immortal Country of Bai Hai, she no longer wished to be part of a faction. Even though Xiang was her master, she knew that Xiang would not restrict her freedom. "Here is the meat of the small gold eagle. Do you want to eat it?" Long Shui skipped to Xianxia's side and said sweetly. The son of the Golden Rock King was actually killed by the leader. Xianxia was extremely surprised. During the Great Battle, the death of one of the Golden Rock King's sons had caused a huge sensation. "What's wrong with that? Why don't you see who that brat is?" Long Shui laughed. "You are Bai Long, right? No wonder the Imperial Dragon Clan is in a mess right now." Xianxia looked at Long Shui with a serious expression. Although Long Shui had a sweet appearance and a devilish figure, she gave off an extremely dangerous feeling. Of course, when my Heavenly Dragon Supreme Lord goes out, he would be scared to death. Long Shui laughed. She seemed to have known that this would happen. Xianxia didn't say much about the White Dragon. She knew that the beautiful white dragon lady in front of her carried the eternal hatred of the White Dragon clan, and was very similar to her. Xianxia arrived at the Long family's Immortal Palace in the Pellet region. This Immortal Palace was recently built by the Long family and was incomplete in many places. The walls were very low too, but to be able to construct it in such a short period of time was already quite impressive. Although the Sacred Dan realm had fused with the Heaven realm, there were no changes to the terrain. Back then, he had also stayed at the Long family for a period of time, so he was relatively familiar with the place. However, there was still a big change here. For example, the Long family's headquarters was located right in the middle of the Immortal Palace. There was also a tall wall, making it difficult to enter. Xianxia took out the jade tablet that Long Huishan had given him back then. He arrived at the central area, and at the entrance under the tall and big wall, he took out the jade tablet and handed it over to the Immortal Monarch guarding the gate. "Do you need to lead the way?" After the Immortal Monarch saw this, he immediately felt deep veneration for Xianxia. Although he did not know who this person was, those with this jade token had the best relationship with the female Dragon King of the Long family. "Just take me to your patriarch," Xianxia said. He kept the jade medallion, and then the Immortal Monarch called for a young lady and brought him to the large building. The Long family in the center area was like a large city with many buildings. Could be seen that the Long family was developing very well. Xianxia was brought into a luxurious living room. The young lady told him to wait here. She had already sent someone to inform Long Huishan. When Long Huishan found out that someone was holding on to that type of jade tablet, she knew that Xianxia had come. She thought that it would take Xianxia some time to arrive. She didn't expect it to happen so soon. She immediately rushed to the guest hall, and upon seeing Xianxia, she really wanted to punch him twice, but she endured it. Without saying much more, she brought Xianxia directly into an even tighter manner. Just as he entered, Long Huishan punched Xianxia in the chest. "Little bastard, you really dare to play." Xianxia changed back to his own appearance and laughed. "Big sister Long, long time no see, you look even more beautiful than before. And you even have the aura of a female Dragon King." "Cut the crap." Long Huishan grabbed Xianxia and brought him into the Great Hall. Then, he pushed onto a chair with all his strength and sat down as well. Long Huishan wore a golden armor with a long braid hanging down to her chest. One could see the stiff armor that was glowing with a golden light on it. Long Huishan had indeed changed a lot. When Xianxia had first met her, he had felt that she was a strong woman. But now she was an overbearing queen, not as young and gentle as she was in the past. Of course, all of this was forced out of her environment. Seeing Xianxia's mischievous eyes sweeping over her, Long Huishan glared at him. "What are you looking at?" Back then, Xianxia and Hua Xiangyue had stayed at Long Huishan's place for a period of time. At that time, Hua Xiangyue's clothes were extremely seductive throughout the day, and she often dual cultivated with Xianxia at night. "How would I dare? Sister Long's figure is so good. Her face is so beautiful. And whatever clothes she wears are very beautiful. Of course, not wearing them would be even more beautiful." Xianxia laughed. "He deserves a beating." Long Huishan bellowed. He had already arrived in front of Xianxia and fiercely knocked on his head. Long Huishan was indeed becoming stronger and stronger. Back then, when she obtained the inheritance of the Ice Dragon, she had only just become an immortal king. But now, she was much stronger than before. As Long Huishan sat on the chair beside Xianxia, he watched as Xianxia rubbed the sore spot on her head. He couldn't help but think of what happened back then when Xianxia and her had entered the Dragon Cave. How weak she was at that time, and all the difficulties she had encountered along the way. Xianxia had helped her resolve them, allowing her to ultimately enter the depths of the Dragon Cave to obtain the inheritance of the Ice Dragon. When she thought about this, her heart couldn't help but feel warm. The way she looked at Xianxia became very gentle, so when Xianxia came to the Heaven realm and didn't look for her, she became very angry. This made her feel that Xianxia thought that she wasn't strong enough. She still didn't know how to repay Xianxia's kindness. When Xianxia was surrounded by the Dragon Emperor and the other rankers, she had already made preparations to fight to her death. "Foolish brat, Can't you provoke some weaker forces? Can it be easier for me to help you? Long Huishan said bitterly as he reached out to rub Xiang's head. Even though you called me elder sister, I didn't do my duty. Long Huishan sighed. No need to blame yourself. I came here to trouble you. You won't chase me away, right? Xiang laughed as he grabbed the long braid that hung on Long Huishan's chest and played around with it. I knew that you would only look for me if you had something to say. Long Huishan pulled back her braid and snorted. At the moment, she did look somewhat like a woman. That's right. How is little Ling right now? Xiang asked. He's still sleeping. This little girl still doesn't know that her big brother Yen is being offered a bounty and doesn't dare to show his face. Long Huishan leaned on the chair, crossed his legs, and lightly sipped on his tea, asking, "What are you looking for me for? Is there another sister from Stronghold?" Xianxia had originally planned to leave Ji Meixian here, but since Ji Meixian was unwilling, she decided to go out and adventure by herself. Elder sister Long, have you seen Yulan? Xianxia was now more worried about Long Yulan, because her white hair was a symbol of the white dragon's blood. Although Long Shui had never told him about the hatred between Bai Long and Imperial Dragon Clan, he could feel the strong desire for revenge inside the white dragon's bones. After Long Yulan awakened his white dragon vein, there was a huge change, although he still loved his older brother a lot. I met her the last time I went to Human King Immortal country. I had a private chat with her before. She got along really well with me, and I even fought with her before. She was the one who pestered me to spar with her. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to bear this elder sister of mine. Long Huishan said. Long Yulan was very similar to the current Long Huishan. They were both violent women and there was dragon blood in their bodies. That's why she has white hair. If possible, I hope you can take her and let her stay here for a period of time. Once she has some power, I think it would be better for her to stay with you. Xiang said in a low voice. Hearing this, Ji Meixian, who was inside the quiet dragon ring, was also very surprised, and looked towards Long Shui. Long Shui had also told Xiang before that it would be better for Long Yulan to follow him because the Long family was a group of dragon people. Long Huishan knew that there was a white dragon by Xiang's side, and because of the appearance of the white dragon, the Imperial Dragon Clan was extremely nervous. There was still a more important matter that Xiang came to find Long Huishan for, and Long Huishan could guess it as well. I got a lot of pills in the competition, so I don't need any of them. Xiang laughed and said, I want to let go of your hand. I don't need any spiritual crystal. I just want a few of them. I knew that you wouldn't be able to sell that batch of ground-level pills. How about this? I'll give you 10 million spiritual crystal and give you a few more. I don't have much sacred animal fruit for now, but a batch of them will ripen after a while. Long Huishan said. Although there were a lot of pills that Xiang refined during the competition, they were all high-grade ground-level pills, and each pill was only worth 200 spiritual crystal. Even though he managed to refine more than 30,000 pills, he only had around 60 to 70 million, so the price that Long Huishan offered was considered very high. Isn't that too much? Xiang said in embarrassment. There's no need for you to be so polite. The pills you concoct are of the highest quality, and my Long family will not lose out if we sell them. I heard that you're a black-hearted fellow, so you should beat me up right now. Long Huishan laughed. I don't dare. Xiang blushed. If he was selling someone else, he would definitely beat them up. However, Long Huishan had a good relationship with him, and he would have to trouble her to take care of Lang Yulan and Xin Lingling. Xiang gave the pills to Long Huishan, and upon seeing them, Long Huishan could not help but exclaim, Little fellow, you actually managed to refine so many of them in just 2 to 3 days. If you come next time, I'll have to prepare some more medicinal ingredients for you to refine. Definitely not. Who told you to be my sister? Xiang grinned. Good brother. Long Huishan smiled daintily, then kissed Xiang's cheek. I'll go get you the sacred animal fruit. Wait for me here. When Long Huishan left, he touched the cheek that had been kissed by her and chuckled. It's better to kiss on the mouth. You should have let her bring a few sacred animal dan over. I've grown up, but I've never eaten a few sacred animal dan before. Long Shui shouted anxiously. What's the rush? Give me some time, I'll let you eat until you puke, said. Now that he knew that Long Shui was not weak, he would definitely help Long Shui increase his strength in the future. Not long after Long Huishan left, an old lady slowly walked in. She was precisely the Long Perong who always lagged behind Chen Xiang during competitions. In these 3 matches, Chen Xiang had always been in first place, while Long Perong had always been in second place. It would be fine if there was a slight gap between their results, but who knew that Chen Xiang would always leave her behind, which made it difficult for her to compare second and first. Long Perong originally came to look for Long Huishan, but the moment she entered, she saw a young man who was young and handsome. Of course she knew who this strange man was, because Chen Xiang's bounty portraits were all over the streets. It would be weird if she did not know. Chen Xiang was precisely this kind of young brat that defeated her. Whenever Long Huishan thought of this, he always felt that his age was no different from a dog's. When Chen Xiang saw Long Perong, he immediately stood up and said respectfully, "Kid Chen Xiang greets senior." Long Perong knew that Chen Xiang was Long Huishan's foster brother. Although she had lost to Chen Xiang 3 times, Chen Xiang's respectful bow to her made her secretly praise him in her heart. However, she was still a little unhappy in her heart. Long Perong walked into the hall and sighed. "This is my old body. You've won 3 times in a row, and you're always ahead of me by a lot. Don't be polite with me as your teacher. I should pay respects to you." Chen Xiang only smiled, and then he sat down together with Long Perong. The bounty for Chen Xiang was flying everywhere as groups of people searched for him, wanting to get that precious bounty. However, Chen Xiang was sitting there leisurely, drinking his tea. The age difference between Chen Xiang and Long Perong was huge, but they were both alchemists, so when it came to refining pills, they were chatting excitedly. Chen Xiang had a unique and innovative perspective on pill refining. After hearing about it, Long Perong felt that she had benefited greatly, but she had the rich experience of refining a high-level pellet, which was something that even Su Meiyao did not have. Long Huishan took more than 2 hours to return, but seeing that Chen Xiang and Long Pei were chatting so much, she was very happy. "You're not in a hurry. Why don't you stay here for a few more days and treat this place as your own home?" Long Huishan threw a storage bag to Chen Xiang. "No, I'm worried that the Dragon Emperor will suddenly find us here. It's not good for you," Chen Xiang said. "What are you afraid of? He's here, we can just beat him up and run. Although we only have dragon blood, we are not afraid of the Imperial Dragon Clan," Long Huishan said. Her father was a very mysterious rancor. Chen Xiang also guessed that the Long family was hiding a strong power. That day he was surrounded by many strong warriors, and that Long Huishan and an old man dared to come in full fury. It looked like they wanted to fight, but then Huang Jintian brought him running away quickly, so the conflict did not happen. If Chen Xiang wanted to leave, no one could stay. Long Huishan was a little angry and scolded a bit before letting him leave. Relying on the superpowers of Imperial Dragon Clan, Fire Divine Palace and Devil Suppressing Divine Palace, they would definitely be able to investigate the relationship between him and the Long family. And right now, Long Huishan also had a batch of high-grade ground-level pills that he had refined. Before long, it would be discovered by Chen Xiang's enemies, which was why he chose to leave. This would allow the Long family to avoid unnecessary trouble. Chen Xiang teleported away through the transmission array in the Immortal Palace, leaving behind a faraway place from the Heaven Realm's Immortal Palace. The immortal qi in this place was not rich, there were not many beasts, and there were very few strange flowers and herbs. 20 sacred animal fruit. She's so generous. Chen Xiang originally thought that it would only be around 10 or so, and that one would sell for 2 million spiritual crystal, so these 20 would be equivalent to 40 million spiritual crystal. What a good big sister. I also want her to be my big sister, Long Shui said while holding back his saliva. This little gluttonous dragon had milk, and Chen Xiang despised her actions right now. Inside the storage bag, there was also a jade tablet. On it were some special techniques engraved with 10 million spiritual crystal. As long as they went to the Spiritual Crystal Immortal Palace, they could use this jade tablet to exchange. This kind of jade tablet was very hard to copy. Moreover, if discovered, they would end up using the same super old poison. This 40-50 million spiritual crystal was simply nothing to Long Huishan. She was a female dragon king of the Long family, and after the sacred Dan realm had been merged with them, she had allowed the Long family to develop and become even more powerful. He already had the sacred animal fruit, and next, he would need to refine a sacred animal Dan for Long Shui. Previously, Xianxia would have one, but if it failed, he wouldn't be able to refine even a single one, and even if it succeeded with Long Shui's appetite, it would be hard to satisfy her. If Xianxia wanted to survive in the sacred beast's ancient realm, not only did he have to increase his own strength, he also had to make Long Shui stronger. When Xianxia came out of the netherworld Adumbra flower, he found that the nearest Immortal palace also needed to run continuously for 10 days and 10 nights, so it could be considered to be relatively safe. She looked at the towering green mountains all around her, took in a deep breath of fresh air, and stayed inside the ring for a long time. She would miss the outside world very much, and now, she could understand Su Meiyao's and Bai Yuyu's helplessness. You have a very strong spiritual sense, and that's your talent. Do as I say, and it won't be long before you get rid of the heavenly dog. Long Shui said. Xianxia was Xiang's female slave, so she taught many techniques of the Imperial Dragon Clan inside the ring. I know. You don't have to worry too much about me. My divine protective clothes are very powerful, so even if I meet a strong person like the Dragon Emperor, I won't die. Xianxia said. Xianxia and Xianxia had decided to keep it a secret record so that they could contact each other in the future. Take care. Xianxia stroked the messy hair on Xianxia's forehead and said with a smile, You have to take care of yourself as well. You are even more dangerous than me. Xianxia smiled at him. Xianxia's body floated into the air and flew away from the mountain. However, Xianxia found a relatively quiet mountain corner and started to carve a cave there, within the 5 beast statue inside Xianxia's dantian. Each of them originally had 9 heaven pellets. But after going through the 9 nirvana tribulations, they all combined into 1 pellet. The heavenly core in his dantian was no longer circular, but was the same as the beast elder with a faint outline. He felt that if he continued to cultivate, he would be able to take on the exact same shape as the 5 beast statue, and might even slowly grow bigger. Of course, he had to refine sacred animal Dan first and fill Long Shui's stomach. Although he had eaten royal bird meat before, but that was only to try it, and not to let Long Shui become stronger. Indeed, it had been a long time since Long Shui had a good meal. If not, she would not yell all day. The sacred animal fruit was a type of fruit that could continuously evolve itself, and the highest would become the holy level. That was why it was called the sacred animal fruit, but it would take a long time. Even if Xianxia used the creation divine liquid to accelerate its growth, it would probably take a lot of time. As for the sacred animal fruit that Long Huishan gave Xianxia, they were all low-grade heaven level S, which was a lot lower than his current strength, but if he gave it to him in large quantities, it would still have a good effect. The difficulty of refining sacred animal Dan was not high. It was much easier than origin restoring pellets. There was only one type of main ingredient, which was why Long Perong chose to refine this pellet, and at the same time refine peak quality. Right now, Xianxia still did not plan to refine the peak quality. He needed too much time and effort. If one day he did not need to spend all his energy and effort, he could casually refine a peak quality pill with his own will. Xianxia only failed once and successfully refined a sacred animal Dan. With 3 pills in each furnace, the quality was all top-notch. The moment he saw Xianxia opening the pill furnace, Long Shui immediately ran out from the ring. The sacred animal Dan was bigger, like a lychee. Long Shui put one in his mouth, but did not immediately bite off it, causing her fragrant cheeks to bulge, making her look very cute. Quickly eat it and see what its effects are. Xianxia pinched the other cheek of her. It's very sweet. I want to take a sip, Long Shui said with puffed up half his face, while holding on to the other 2 pills, as if he was afraid that they would be snatched away. Xianxia shook his head and smiled. He rubbed her face for a bit, then continued to refine sacred animal Dan. He wanted to refine all of the pills that Long Huishan had given him into pills. Right now, Long Shui was eating sacred animal Dan like candy. Using creation divine liquid S to replicate low-grade heaven level required a lot of effort. If he needed to copy a lot of them, Xianxia would have to go into closed-door cultivation for a long time. If it was just sacred animal fruit S, it would not be as fast as Long Shui's speed of eating. Previously, he needed a few days to refine the sacred animal Dan, but after successfully refining a batch, his speed would slowly increase. Chun Xiang was concocting pills in the cave, while Long Shui was sitting at the side watching. He was still holding the sacred animal Dan in his mouth, playing with it with his tongue like it was candy, as if he was eating it happily. This was the first time Chun Xiang saw it look like he was eating a pill, but he also saw the sacred animal Dan slowly shrinking in size in her mouth. Finally gone. Long Shui sucked her tongue and licked her lips, as if she was a child eating candy for the first time. Then, she put another sacred animal Dan into her mouth. Chun Xiang calculated the time. She had just eaten a sacred animal Dan using 2 hours of time. This was a good thing. If she ate like how she ate before, she could eat several vats in 1 hour. Now, Chun Xiang knew that beautiful dragon pets were not easy to raise. Long Shui knew that there were not many people who could afford to keep her, which was why she insisted on keeping her promise with Chun Xiang. Chun Xiang spent 10 days worth of time and finally refined all of those sacred animal fruit into sacred animal danes, while she ate very slowly so she could only eat 1 pellet per day. She did not know how she ate it, and she could only hold it in her mouth for a good half a day. Chun Xiang took out the small gold eagle's Oris core and the dragon pearl of the holy dragon Dan Immortal and the little emperor dragon that Huang Jintian had killed. These are all great supplements, but you can't just take on too much at once. Take it step by step, Long Shui said. If he wanted to obtain a large amount of energy, Chun Xiang could only rely on these things now, and the cultivation technique he cultivated could completely refine all of these energy into his own. Chun Xiang had already stayed in the cave for 5 years. If he was in Detian, 5 years would be considered very long for him, but in Heaven Realm it was nothing. Furthermore, many of the things that happened in the tournament 5 years ago no one had forgotten now, and his bounty orders were all over the place. Chun Xiang had absorbed the golden rock golden pellet and the 2 dragon pearls to raise his strength, giving him quite the harvest in the past 5 years. He had already stepped into the intermediate stage of the worldly immortal stage, and the 5 sky pellets among the 5 beast statue in his body gradually had a beast-like outline. The 5 beast statue in his dantian were just an illusion. He felt that the 5 heaven pills in the future would look exactly like the illusion, and that would be his true peak.